have it.
Hello and welcome to the program. I am Dennis Adign-Lui. Beginning this week with the oversight function of the legislature. The Petroleum Industry Act 2021 is about 8 months in existence now, and to ensure proper implementation of the provisions of the Act, the Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream has recently embarked on rigorous oversights of agencies responsible for this key mandate, including the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission. The committee also recently visited the Gongola Basin on the upper Benue Trough in the northeastern part of the country. Here are highlights of that visit.
I think it was televised live. No, live, yes. I live. That was 2nd February 2019. I has the wellhead there.
This one that you guys built.
Yes, sir. One of them. As the three.
Small with three.
Yeah. Now we do. Shell did one.
Yes.
Then this is the first one we did. Frontier bases. Once we drill, whichever direction it goes, government is looking for that information. If we say there is nothing here, government wants that information. If we say there is something, government wants that information as well. If we say there is nothing, then nobody will spend efforts again to do anything in that particular area. If we say there is, then government will take it to the next step. That is our mandate. The chairman, sir, Senate Committee on Petroleum Upstream, the members of the committee, all distinguished senators, the military members of the press, colleagues, good afternoon. We are here at Kolmani River 4 drilling location. This location is in the upper Benue Trough, which is popularly referred to as Gongola Basin. NNPC, through the Frontier Exploration Services Department or Services Division, fully supported by our top management, evaluated the entire inland basins, and this particular area came up top in the ranking list. With this, we were able to identify different technologies to evaluate the basin. We acquired high precision 3D seismic data here. We processed, interpreted, and came up with a couple of well locations. The last one is Kolmani River 2, which we visited. This is Kolmani River 4 that appraised Kolmani River 2. Both wells have found significant quantity of hydrocarbon. And to us, this is a very big success in our exploratory work. So our efforts now has moved to other places in the inland basins. Thank you, sir.
Well, my distinguished colleagues, the Vice Chairman of the committee, Abdullahi-led NNPC team, we are very much delighted to be here and to let Nigerians know exactly what's been happening in the frontier. The real essence why the National Assembly set aside the Frontier Exploration Fund was to deepen activities in the frontiers, just like we have done in the Gongola Basin, in the Benue Trough generally. Where we are right now and what we have been doing since morning is to actually see for ourselves, for the first time in the history of our country, efforts made by the Mele Kyari-led NNPC in ensuring that the development of frontier and the creation of economic viable data that will attract the much needed investment into the oil and gas sector in this area, is pursued with great vigor. And I'm very happy, and I believe that my colleagues too are very happy. Baba, am I right? Am I speaking your mind? We are very happy with the level of activity of NNPC Limited in this regard. And we have been made to understand that the limits, the frontier exploration services of NNPC has, at this stage now, is now left for NNPC's management to bring in an investor. And I can assure you, we are talking about first scarcity all over the country today. There is no way the value chain of the petroleum sector is explored in this area, in this instance, where the issues of this nature will not be an issue of the past, Baba. And because through here, I believe that NNPC had actually advertised. I saw the adverts, and then we have been made to understand that shortlisting has been concluded, and that the actual on-the-spot assessment by the relevant investor has actually started. So we believe that by the end of this year, something should be done in this nature, to explore this commercially viable crude oil deposit hydrocarbons in this area. Not just crude oil. I understand we have we have the gas here, we have the condensate here. So we expect that whosoever will come in here as an investor will deploy a modular refinery, will deploy a petrochemical plant, will also deploy a power plant, which will change the economic landscape of this environment. So this is real GDP focus of the two states that are affected, and I think the coming into force to these states will also become host community, because it's natural. They become host community, so the direct impact in terms of economic activities. So we must commend the NNPC Limited, and also commend Mr. President for even finding this present team, Mele's led team, finding them worthy to be appointed as the pioneer managing director and directors of NNPC Limited. We as Nigerians, who are the shareholders in this business, expect so much from them, and I think they have not failed us. So now that we have seen these things for ourselves, we will now go back to the National Assembly, then look into their budget for this year, because we have seen, we are convinced. And we'll then see what we need to do as a National Assembly to encourage that what is happening here in the Gongola Basin happens across every other basin. Because the exploration of hydrocarbon now is now the direct responsibility of what the government. Because the creation of the data first is what an investor looks at. So from the exploration stage to that creation of data stage is where we are looking at right now, because we must also move this to other areas. So I can begin to imagine and can begin to wonder the wonders that will happen across the Gombe and the Bauchi axis. And this is what we keep on saying, that being a host community or being an oil-producing community is the right of every community in Nigeria. If oil could be found here, then there is oil in everywhere in this country. So we as a country, we must take it upon ourselves to explore so that our country can take the benefits and the advantage of this God-given resource. So I think we are very delighted because we kept on saying in Abuja, where is frontier? Where is frontier? We have come, we have seen from frontier. Yes. And I believe that Nigerians will now have the better understanding that something good is happening here. That's the real essence of this visit today. So I commend you, I commend Mele and his team, and I commend the board, I commend everybody that we are satisfied with what we have seen here. And it gives us greater hope that better things lies ahead of us. Unless any other my colleague have something to say. You know, are we okay, Baba?
No, we are.
Are we okay, Baba?
No,
okay, then. To God be the glory.
Thank you.
Nigeria has almost clocked 23 years of uninterrupted democratic governance, and with a new electoral law in place, it is the hope and expectation of Nigerians that leaders to take the helm of affairs come 2023 will be democratically elected. Let's now get the take of Majority Leader of the Senate, Yahaya Abdullahi, who spoke recently on the democratic process in Nigeria, party politics, the merits of direct primaries, and politics generally in the country.
Democracy is an expensive business. You know, we don't want a cheap way out. Once you want to sit down and empower the people and empower party people, it's not a cheap business. You know, because democracy brings stability. It brings integrity of choice. You know, we should ensure that this is done. You know, so that the true representative of the people can emerge. If I'm not a person who is loved by my people, I will go and fail, even in my own local government. But now if I want, I will just sit down, refuse to do anything, but I'm always in the house or in the office of a sitting governor or some powerful person. You know, he will return me. Every time my name will come up. Even though I don't have anything root, you know, from my own community. So this, but you have to clean the political process. And then the general election now, you know, you have people who are voted by their parties. Then the issue that will become clear then will be ideas. You know, whose idea, which party's idea is the best for running a nation. Then there will be a coalition. Some other people, you will choose this one, other person will choose this one. Then the quality of the ideas of the people will come, you know, during general elections. That's where the contest of ideas will come. But now what is happening is that one big fat pocket will just go out there, and he will say that I have come from this party to that party with 100,000 people. Where are the 100,000 people? You don't know them. Does he have 100,000 names? No, this man had to come to, and he came with who? How do you know how popular a politician is? And the politicians themselves will come out so that, you know, there will be a test of popularity.
Talking about party ideology, what's your take on politicians jumping from...
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what the whole thing is, because, you know, the party identity itself, you know, has melted away. Has melted away because the process of sponsoring people, you know, lacks integrity. It lacks integrity. Therefore, you know, there is no identity between the parties. The issue is who has support of which oligarchs, or which power base, or which government. That's what it has come to. So if you know you are not favored by a governor or by some powerful interests somewhere, then you shift. They will come and tell you, look, if you want this office, leave your party, come to ours. Then we will come and vote. That's what, sometimes you see what has happened. You know, some people lose out in their own party, then they shift to another party. You know, and that party will accept them. You know, I mean, what kind of politics is that? That's not politics. That's not. You are just building oligarchies. You know, that's at the end of the day, that's what you are doing. So, but if you come back and allow members of a political party to make their own choices, democratic choices, that's where democracy is. You know, for example, even an insurance against coups. You know, it's an insurance against coups because take Britain for example. Their members of their parliament are not elected by oligarchs; they are elected by ordinary party members. You know, in their boroughs. These are the people who do the election. They elect the leaders. Then it depends on which policy is there. So either conservative or labor or whatever, depending on the mood of the nation. You know, we win the election, but there were people who are in constituencies. It's the members who elect, you know, the people who are going to represent them. You know, so when you have that grassroots-based party formation, it's very difficult for anybody, a military man, to come and organize a coup. You know, because you know people have direction. They are mobilized. They are mobilized and they are effective, and they know that they have a say in the democratic process. But once you demobilize people, they have no say in the democratic process. All you are building is a series of oligarchies. From the party oligarchy, the local government, another oligarchy at the state level, another oligarchy. Look at what happened in the other party during that time. All the governors did was to sit down and zone the offices. Then each governor brings his own boy. That's what happened. And this is what they want to do. You know, they even want to sit down and do the same thing for a president of this country. The government will just sit down, 30 or 24 or 36 of them. Then they decide for you who is going to be your president. And that's nothing you can do. That's nothing you can do. Virtually nothing. Because they control the party machinery. So what you are having is that you are handing over power to an oligarchy. You know, only when you have a shake-up in that oligarchy, so of the members will shift to another party, then the party will be then allowed to shift to another party. But if every party member has a say in who is elected to represent him, who is elected as governor, who is elected as state, it's expensive, yes. But democracy is a costly business.
And some other lawmakers give their perspectives on the issue of high turnover of legislators every 4 years in the Nigerian National Assembly.
That narrative is true. In the 8th Assembly, I think there was about 30% return, while over 70% never returned. In the this 9th Assembly is about 38% return, with the other 60-something% not returning. So I think this speaks volume, and it's all up to us to begin to educate that the legislature is not a sharing, a platform. It's a platform where you allow certain people to learn the art of representation, and the more they remain here, the better at it they are, and invariably the better for the various communities that have stayed the course of allowing somebody to at least remain sufficiently long enough, no matter how long. One day you must part, but at least you should be given that sufficient length of time to be here, to get that ranking. That way you'll be able to have a position of strength that you can contribute and make their own society and even those you are representing much better. So it's something I look forward to.
Yeah, it is not good for the legislative arm of government because as chairman of Rules and Business Committee in 2003, I received the chairman of the Rules and Business Committee of the United States Congress, and he had been there for 36 years at that time in 2003, and had chaired that committee for almost that length of time, 36 years. And of course, you can know President Joe Biden, how long he'd been in the Senate, and now he's president of the country. All this is it's good for the experience of the country. It is not, legislative seat should not be taken as com-chop. It should not be taken as a commissioner's role. It should not be taken as something that you use to settle some persons. It's a matter of intellect your contributions, what you have to offer. And the legislators themselves have been cowed because they do not act on the legislative interest of the country. They always look at, what is my leader saying? What is my governor saying? Is the action I take capable of giving me a return ticket? I want to say, with respect, I'm not being disrespectful, I'm not being disloyal, I'm not canvassing disloyalty. Do your job first, and what you do, your job will stand in for you. Your job will stand up and stand out for you. And sometimes your leader or your governor, quote unquote, I don't give credence to that, will always say, look, this person has done well. I think we should return him to the legislature.
I quite agree. It's very sad. It's worrisome. It's of concern. You know, there are some in other countries of the world, you know, where, you know, you have a member of the parliament spending a much longer time in the parliament, and experiences acquired over time. You see, you should not just look at that constituency alone. That constituency, you know, is aligning with other constituencies in the country, and is also connecting with other countries of the world. Can you imagine, for example, you have a novice who become the chairman of foreign relations in Senate, or finance, or banking, and then that person will sit down with somebody in United States of America Senate. There's a terrible mismatch. For me, that is what we are going to what we are going to see, the impediment of an effective lawmaking, effective oversight, and effective of representation. It is not just you come here and then, you know, you go back home. Yes, with due respect to every politics is local, but when you go back home, or when you go home, you go and spend the little resources that you have, you know, that for me it is not a representation. An effective representation is that whereby you protect the interest and integrity of your constituency. And remember, you are also discussing, you know, wholesome with other either senators or members House of Representatives from other, you know, parts of the country. In the areas of resource control, resource allocation, in other about land matters, generally, you make law for the federation. In making law for the federation, you must agree, either disagree to agree or agree to disagree, whatever it is. So it is important that we begin to maintain our members to go on and on to build, you know, a viable, you know, structure of parliament. This thing should come. Somebody who wants to contest should start from member House of Assembly. Maybe 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, then that person moves to House of Representatives. Maybe 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, then they move to the Senate. Because you are acquiring skills over time, and then you can be able to defend the integrity of your constituency. You can do lawmaking very well. You can do a lot of oversight. You will have a lot of respect, you know, by the MDS. But when the MDS find that you are a novice, and they can manipulate you, they can play left and right with you, especially with the kind of civil servants we have in this country today, with due respect. So I think, you know, we should look into it. We should try to maintain, you know, the credible ones. I'm not saying that if somebody does not perform, you still maintain him. No, it should be tied to performance. It should be tied to somebody who is doing well, not to go say, oh no, even though he's performing very well, he's doing very well, but we think that we can't, for one sentimental reason or the other, drop him or her.
Well, that's your lots on this edition of the program. I am Dennis at Digunluyu. Thanks for your time and see you again soon.